The Deep Space Monitoring Station hung like a mechanical spider against the backdrop of endless darkness. Its array of sensors probed the infinite void, a silent sentinel watching for any disturbance in the cosmic silence. Most would have considered the posting mundane, endless hours of nothing interrupted by occasional stellar phenomena. But not Commander Jack Reynolds. He understood the true nature of vigilance. The station's primary computer hummed softly, its quantum processors parsing countless streams of data, electromagnetic signatures, gravitational anomalies, quantum fluctuations, each input carefully analyzed, cross-referenced, and logged. Humans had learned long ago that survival in space meant paying attention to the smallest details. Jack's fingers traced the holographic display, his eyes reflecting the soft blue light of the system maps. He wore the standard deep space monitoring uniform, a practical graphene-weave jumpsuit with integrated communication and life support systems. Unlike the ceremonial uniforms of traditional military branches, this outfit spoke of functionality over form. A subtle vibration ran through the station's deck plates. Most would have missed it, but Jack's hand was already moving to the alert systems before the first warning ping erupted from the computer. Hyperspace transition detected, the computer's neutral voice announced. Signature inconsistent with known human or allied vessel configurations. Jack's spine straightened. This was not a routine event. The holographic display erupted with a cascade of data, spectral analysis, mass readings, energy signature. Each metric told a story of an approaching vessel unlike anything in human database records. Its configuration suggested a predatory design, all sharp angles and weapon systems barely concealed beneath an exterior that suggested both advanced engineering and a culture built on conquest. "Magnify Sector 7 Delta," Jack commanded. The holographic image zoomed, revealing intricate details of the approaching vessel. Its hull absorbed and redirected light in ways that suggested active camouflage technology far beyond current human understanding. Sharp crystalline structures protruded from its hull, potential weapon systems, or advanced sensor arrays that defied conventional engineering. Jack's training kicked in. This was no exploration vessel. This was a warship. "Computer, initiate first contact protocol Gamma," he said, his voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through his system. "Encrypt and transmit preliminary warning to Sector Command." The station's communication systems came alive, quantum-encrypted signals racing across multiple communication bands. Multiple redundant channels ensured that no matter what happened, someone would receive the warning. Outside the station's reinforced windows, the alien vessel continued its approach. Its movement was deliberate, almost leisurely, the confidence of a predator certain of its superiority. Jack knew that appearance was deceptive. Every moment was an opportunity, every second a potential battlefield. He activated the station's defensive systems. What appeared to be simple solar arrays and communication dishes began to subtly reconfigure. Weapon systems that had been carefully disguised as maintenance equipment hummed to life, their energy signatures carefully masked to appear as routine station operations. "Incoming transmission," the computer announced. Jack raised an eyebrow. Most first encounters involved weeks of mathematical exchanges, careful linguistic decoding. This was different. The alien communication burst through, a complex mathematical sequence that was simultaneously a greeting, a threat, and a declaration of intent. To an untrained eye, it would appear as random noise. But Jack had spent years preparing for this moment. The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. Jack's lips curved into a slight smile. The aliens had no idea what they were walking into. "Computer," he said softly, "prepare the welcome package." Across the station, systems that appeared dormant began to wake. Maintenance drones shifted their configurations. Communication arrays adjusted their quantum-entangled receivers. What looked like a simple monitoring station was transforming into something far more complex. The alien vessel continued its approach, unaware that every moment brought it closer to a trap decades in the making. Humanity had been preparing, waiting, learning. And now, first contact was about to begin. The human colony stretched across the outer rim like a hidden network of resilience. What appeared to be simple mining settlements and research outposts concealed a truth that would soon shock the incoming alien threat. Each settlement was a node in a sophisticated defensive ecosystem, developed through decades of cautious preparation and innovative engineering. Deep beneath the surface of a seemingly unremarkable asteroid mining complex, Colonel Elena Rodriguez studied the holographic display of the Swarm Protocol. It was more than a military strategy. It was humanity's insurance policy against extinction. The protocol had its roots in humanity's darkest moments. Decades earlier, a near-catastrophic encounter with an unknown alien species had taught humans a brutal lesson. Conventional warfare was a path to annihilation. Survival demanded something different, something unexpected. Rodriguez traced her fingers across the holographic projection. What looked like standard mining equipment could transform in moments. Drilling lasers became precision weapons. Cargo drones morphed into coordinated attack platforms. Communication satellites doubled as electronic warfare nodes. "Systems check," she muttered. Quantum computers across the colony network sprang to life. Each settlement, from the ice mining platforms of Europa's frozen plains to the solar collectors orbiting Mercury, began to synchronize. They were not isolated outposts. They were cells of a larger organism, ready to respond with terrifying coordination. In the hydrogen extraction facility on Ganymede, maintenance robots began subtle reconfigurations. Their primary programming appeared unchanged, but internal systems were preparing for something more. Hydraulic arms designed for moving massive extraction equipment now calculated optimal weapon deployment trajectories. A young engineer named Marcus Chen watched the transformation with a mixture of professional pride and barely contained excitement. Most of his colleagues didn't fully understand the complex systems they maintained, but Marcus knew every circuit, every potential modification. Swarm nodes activating, he whispered to himself, fingers dancing across a series of holographic interfaces. The protocol's genius lay in its decentralization. No single command center controlled the entire network. Instead, each settlement had autonomous decision-making capabilities. If one node was destroyed, the others would adapt, redistribute, continue the mission. Quantum-encrypted communication channels began to pulse with life. What appeared to be routine maintenance messages carried complex strategic information. Each transmission was a puzzle piece, constantly shifting, impossible to decode without the full context. In the research stations orbiting Jupiter, experimental propulsion systems were quietly being modified. Fusion drives designed for deep space exploration could become devastating kinetic weapons with minimal adjustments. Scientific equipment transformed into potential defensive systems with a few lines of reprogrammed code. Rodriguez understood the psychological warfare aspect of their preparation. The incoming alien vessel would expect a traditional military response. Instead, they would encounter a living, breathing network that defied conventional understanding of warfare. "This isn't about winning a battle," she muttered, reviewing the latest tactical simulations. "This is about demonstrating that humanity is not a species to be trifled with." The Swarm Protocol was more than a defensive strategy. It was a statement of human resilience, of our ability to turn limitation into strength. Every resource became a potential weapon. Every citizen a potential defender. Across the solar system, seemingly innocuous facilities began to pulse with potential energy. Mining lasers adjusted their calibrations. Communication arrays extended quantum-entangled receivers. Cargo drones reconfigured their internal mechanisms. To an outside observer, nothing appeared to change. But beneath the surface, a complex machine was coming to life. Patient, adaptive, waiting. The alien vessel approaching their territory had no idea what was coming. Humanity had been preparing, waiting, learning. And now, they were ready. The first wave of alien weapons struck with surgical precision. Coherent energy beams lanced through space, designed to slice through conventional defenses like a plasma torch through paper. Any known military force would have been vaporized in seconds. But humanity was not any known military force. In the control center of the Ganymede Research Station, Dr. Marcus Chen watched the incoming attack with a peculiar calm. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces, each movement triggering a cascading series of defensive protocols that defied traditional military doctrine. Incoming energy signature, the station's computer announced. Threat level, critical. Most would have seen certain destruction. Marcus saw an opportunity. The alien weapon beam, a marvel of destructive technology, approached the station's outer defensive perimeter. What appeared to be standard solar collection arrays suddenly shimmered. Quantum adaptive metamaterials began to reshape themselves, absorbing and redistributing the incoming energy. The weapon that should have obliterated the station instead seemed to dissipate, its energy absorbed and transformed. Energy redirection at 97% efficiency, the computer reported. On the mining platforms scattered across the asteroid belt, something extraordinary was happening. What the aliens perceived as simple extraction equipment was transforming. Mining lasers, designed to cut through kilometers of solid rock, adjusted their frequencies. Cargo drones reconfigured their internal systems, becoming mobile defensive platforms. A fleet of what appeared to be simple resource transport vessels began to move with impossible coordination. Their movement was not random. Each vessel calculated its position relative to others with quantum-level precision, creating a defensive network that shifted and adapted faster than any centralized command could direct. Colonel Elena Rodriguez watched the alien vessel's tactical display from her hidden command center. The incoming attack patterns were textbook, a standard assault strategy that had conquered hundreds of civilizations. But humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. "Deploy secondary interference protocol," she commanded. Across the solar system, communication satellites that appeared to be simple relay stations came alive. Quantum-encrypted signals began to dance across multiple frequencies. What looked like standard communication traffic was actually a complex web of misinformation and tactical misdirection. The alien vessel's targeting systems began to malfunction. Marcus Chen allowed himself a slight smile. The mining laser he had modified was no longer just a tool for extracting resources. Now it was a precision weapon, its beam capable of targeting specific subsystems on the alien craft with microscopic accuracy. Energy weapon recalibrated, the computer announced. Optimal strike vector identified. The first alien fighter squadron found itself facing something entirely unexpected. What should have been defenseless mining platforms were transforming. Drill mechanisms became weapon stabilizers. Cargo loading arms became missile delivery systems. Every piece of equipment was a potential weapon. A cargo drone, originally designed to move hundreds of tons of raw materials, suddenly became a high-speed kinetic missile. Its fusion drive, meant for long-distance resource transportation, now propelled it toward a critical section of the alien vessel's defensive grid. Impact in 3, 2, 1, Marcus muttered. The resulting explosion was not just a simple collision. The drone's carefully modified fusion drive created a cascading energy disruption that spread through the alien vessel's systems like a virus. Colonel Rodriguez watched the tactical display with professional detachment. This was more than a battle. This was a demonstration of human innovation. "They thought we were prey," she said softly to herself. They were wrong. The alien attack, designed to be a surgical strike of total destruction, was turning into a nightmare of unexpected resistance. Every system they targeted seemed to adapt. Every weapon they deployed was transformed, redirected, turned against them. Humanity was fighting a war that defied every conventional understanding of military conflict. And they were winning. The solar system was not just a collection of colonies. It was a living, breathing defensive organism. An adaptive network that could transform limitation into strength with each passing moment. The aliens had made a fundamental mistake. They had underestimated humanity. The communication center hummed with an energy that defied its sterile appearance. Rows of quantum computers processed information at speeds that would have been impossible just decades earlier. Here, in the heart of humanity's most advanced intelligence hub, warfare was being waged on a battlefield far more complex than physical space. Dr. Rebecca Nguyen studied the alien communication patterns with the intensity of a predator analyzing prey. Her team wasn't just intercepting messages, they were rewriting the very nature of communication itself. Linguistic analysis complete, the primary computer announced. Its voice carried no emotion, but the implications were profound. The Zylaxian communication network was a marvel of technological engineering. Encrypted channels, multiple redundancy systems, quantum-entangled communication nodes. It represented the pinnacle of their species' technological achievement. They believed their communication was unbreakable. They were wrong. Rebecca's fingers moved across holographic displays, each gesture manipulating complex streams of data. What appeared to be random noise was actually a carefully constructed narrative. Every intercepted message was an opportunity, every communication channel a potential weapon. "Initiate Phase 2, she murmured. Across the solar system, a network of communication relays began to pulse with carefully crafted misinformation. Ghost signals appeared and disappeared, suggesting massive human fleet movements that didn't exist. Encrypted messages hinted at weapon systems beyond the aliens' comprehension. In the command center of the Zylaxian battlecruiser, Captain Krelax watched his tactical displays with increasing confusion. Multiple intelligence reports contradicted each other. One moment, human defenses appeared concentrated near Jupiter. The next, they seemed to be mobilizing near the moons of Saturn. The uncertainty was deliberate. Marcus Chen, now working alongside Rebecca, understood the power of information. "It's not about hiding," he explained to a junior analyst. "It's about creating so many potential realities that the enemy can't distinguish truth from fiction." Their approach was methodical. Each false signal was constructed with scientific precision. Mathematical sequences that mimicked genuine communication protocols. Quantum-encrypted messages that carried layers of potential meaning. The aliens would spend enormous resources trying to decrypt information that meant nothing. Probability of enemy confusion. The computer calculated 87.3% and rising. The psychological assault went beyond simple misinformation. Human communication experts had spent years studying Zylaxian cultural and linguistic patterns. They understood the alien species' deep-seated fears, their cultural blind spots, their most fundamental psychological vulnerabilities. A series of carefully crafted communication bursts began to exploit these weaknesses. Messages that suggested internal conflict within human leadership. Signals that hinted at technological capabilities just beyond the aliens' understanding. Each transmission was a precision instrument designed to erode confidence. Captain Krelax found himself second-guessing every tactical decision. The human response defied all known military strategies. Were these truly isolated colonies or something more? The uncertainty was a weapon more devastating than any physical attack. Tactical uncertainty increasing, his ship's computer reported. The machine's clinical assessment only amplified the growing sense of doubt. Rebecca watched the psychological warfare unfold with clinical detachment. This was not about destruction. This was about making the enemy defeat themselves. "Information is the most powerful weapon," she told her team. "We're not just fighting with technology. We're fighting with perception." The communication center continued its silent assault. Ghost fleets appeared and disappeared. Quantum-encrypted messages carried multiple layers of potential meaning. Each transmission was a puzzle, a psychological trap designed to consume the enemy's cognitive resources. Zylaxian military strategists would spend weeks, perhaps months, trying to untangle the web of information. Every moment spent analyzing these false signals was a moment not spent planning an effective counterattack. Humanity had transformed information itself into a weapon. And the war was just beginning. The solar system transformed into a living, breathing defensive organism, What appeared to be isolated outposts revealed themselves as interconnected nodes of an extraordinary adaptive network. Each facility, each colony, each seemingly mundane installation carried the potential for instantaneous reconfiguration. On the research platform orbiting Mercury, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the transformation unfold with a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic calculation. Humanity's survival had always depended on its ability to adapt, to turn limitations into strengths. The mining laser, originally designed to extract rare minerals from asteroid fields, now calibrated itself into a precision defensive weapon. Maintenance robots meant for routine repairs began reconfiguring their internal systems, becoming mobile defensive platforms. Solar collection arrays metamorphosed into complex energy redirection networks. Adaptive response protocol engaged, the station's computer announced. Marcus Chen had designed many of these systems. His work stretched across multiple research facilities, each one a crucial node in humanity's defensive strategy. What looked like standard equipment to an outside observer was actually a highly sophisticated adaptive network. The hydrogen extraction facility on Ganymede demonstrated the true depth of human innovation. Its massive fusion reactors, originally designed for resource production, could now be rapidly converted into emergency power systems or high-energy weapon platforms. Cooling systems became heat dissipation shields. Extraction equipment transformed into precision targeting mechanisms. Resource conversion efficiency at 94.7%, the computer reported. The key to humanity's strategy was not just technological flexibility, but a fundamental cultural approach to problem solving. Every human colony maintained a core principle: nothing is single purpose. Everything can be adapted. Every limitation is an opportunity for innovation. Cargo drones designed for long-distance resource transportation became mobile communication relays and defensive platforms. Research satellites transformed into electronic warfare nodes. Even the most basic life support systems carried potential for strategic adaptation. Colonel Rodriguez studied the holographic display showing the solar system's defensive network. It was not a traditional military formation. It was an organic, living system that could redistribute resources, reconfigure defenses, and respond to threats with lightning speed. Distributed intelligence protocol activated, she muttered. On the asteroid mining platforms, workers who were originally miners, engineers, and researchers became ad hoc defensive coordinators. Training programs developed over decades ensured that every human in the outer colonies understood their role in the larger defensive strategy. A communications technician could become a tactical coordinator. A mining engineer could rapidly reconfigure equipment into defensive systems. The line between civilian and military personnel had long since blurred. Marcus Chen watched as a series of experimental propulsion systems, originally designed for deep space exploration, were rapidly adapted into potential kinetic weapon platforms. A fusion drive meant for peaceful exploration could become a devastating weapon with minimal modifications. Weapon conversion complete, the computer announced. The alien attackers had made a fundamental miscalculation. They saw human colonies as isolated, vulnerable outposts. In reality, they were facing a distributed adaptive network that could respond to threats with unprecedented speed and creativity. Each colony was both an individual entity and part of a larger organism. Information flowed between them at quantum-encrypted speeds. Resources could be redistributed instantaneously. Defensive strategies could be developed and implemented faster than any centralized command could comprehend. Total system adaptability, Dr. Rodriguez said softly, is our greatest weapon. The solar system was no longer just a collection of human settlements. It was a living, breathing defensive mechanism. Every resource was a potential weapon. Every limitation an opportunity for innovation. The aliens had underestimated humanity's most fundamental strength, the ability to adapt, to transform, to survive. And they were about to learn that lesson in the most brutal way possible. The void of space erupted in a symphony of destruction that defied conventional understanding of warfare. Captain Krelax watched in mounting horror as the Zalaxian battle fleet, A force that had conquered hundreds of civilizations began to systematically unravel. What had begun as a simple conquest was transforming into a nightmare beyond comprehension. The human response was not a traditional military engagement. It was a living, breathing organism of resistance that shifted and adapted with terrifying speed. Every time the Xylaxian fleet targeted one defensive node, two more seemed to emerge from seemingly impossible positions. Tactical analysis impossible, the ship's computer reported, its clinical tone unable to mask the underlying uncertainty. Marcus Chen controlled the defensive network from a seemingly unremarkable research station near the asteroid belt. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces, each movement triggering cascading defensive protocols that rewrote the very understanding of military strategy. Swarms of what appeared to be simple mining and cargo drones moved with impossible coordination. They were not a traditional fleet. They were a distributed intelligence, each unit capable of independent decision-making, yet working in perfect synchronization. A Xylaxian destroyer attempted to concentrate its firepower on a human research station. Before its weapons could fully charge, the entire facility seemed to shimmer and redistribute. What should have been a direct hit became a scattered attack against multiple phantom targets. Colonel Elena Rodriguez understood the psychological warfare at play. "It's not about defeating them," she explained to her team. "It's about making them defeat themselves." The alien fleet's communication networks began to collapse under the weight of deliberate misinformation. False signals suggested massive human reinforcements. Quantum encrypted messages carried multiple layers of potential meaning, consuming enormous computational resources as the Xylaxians tried to decrypt them. Captain Krelax found himself paralyzed by uncertainty. Every tactical decision seemed to lead to another layer of complexity. The human defenders did not fight like any species he had encountered. They were not a unified military force. They were an adaptive network, a living system that could redistribute resources, reconfigure defenses, and respond to threats with impossible speed. "Total system failure imminent," his ship's computer announced. The mining platforms became weapon systems. Research satellites transformed into electronic warfare nodes. Communication arrays became precision targeting mechanisms. Nothing was single-purpose. Everything was a potential weapon. Marcus watched the tactical display with a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic calculation. The human defensive network was not just responding to the attack. It was learning, adapting, transforming with each passing moment. A cargo drone modified with an experimental fusion drive became a high-speed kinetic weapon. The communication relay transformed into a jamming platform. A life support system became an energy redirection network. The Xylaxian fleet had conquered civilizations through overwhelming technological superiority. They had never encountered a species that could turn every limitation into a strength. Defensive adaptation at 98.6% efficiency, the computer reported. Colonel Rodriguez understood the fundamental principle at play. Humanity's greatest weapon was not technology. It was the ability to perceive opportunity in chaos, to transform adversity into advantage. The alien attackers had made a fatal mistake. They had seen human colonies as isolated, vulnerable outposts. In reality, they were facing a distributed, adaptive network that could respond to threats with unprecedented speed and creativity. Captain Krelax watched in mounting desperation as his carefully planned invasion dissolved into chaos. The human response defied every known military strategy. It was not a traditional defense. It was a living, breathing system that could redistribute resources, reconfigure defenses, and respond to threats faster than any centralized command could comprehend. Space itself seemed to become a weapon against the Xylaxian fleet, and humanity was just getting started. The battle had reached its critical moment. The Xylaxian fleet lay broken, its once proud vessels drifting like wounded predators in the cold expanse of space. Captain Krelax stared at the tactical displays, watching as human defensive networks continued their precise, calculated dance of destruction. Yet something unexpected was about to happen. Colonel Elena Rodriguez studied the remnants of the alien fleet with a calculated calm. Her team watched, waiting for her next command. The human defensive network could easily obliterate the remaining Xylaxian vessels. Complete annihilation was well within their capabilities. But that was not the message humanity wanted to send. "Open a quantum-encrypted communication channel," she commanded. Marcus Chen's fingers moved across the holographic interface, establishing a communication link that would penetrate the alien vessel's most secure systems. The message would be precise, multilayered, a communication that was simultaneously a warning, an offer, and a demonstration of humanity's true nature. The first layer was technical, a display of the computational power that had systematically dismantled the Xylaxian invasion. Encrypted codes revealed the depth of human intelligence gathering, showing the aliens exactly how comprehensively they had been outmaneuvered. The second layer was linguistic, a carefully constructed message that translated across multiple communication protocols. It spoke of defense, of protection, of a willingness to coexist, but also of an uncompromising ability to protect their territory. "Translation algorithms preparing," the computer announced. Captain Krelax received the transmission with a mixture of fear and disbelief. The humans were not pursuing total destruction. They were offering something far more complex, a chance to understand, to retreat, to reconsider. The message was elegantly brutal in its simplicity. "You attacked without understanding. We defended without hatred. Retreat, and remember this moment. Humanity does not seek conquest. We seek survival. Your choice now determines your future." Each word was a weapon more precise than any physical attack. It demonstrated a level of psychological sophistication that went beyond military strategy. This was diplomacy as a form of warfare, showing strength through restraint. Dr. Rebecca Nguyen, the linguistic expert who had helped construct the message, understood its deeper implications. "It's not about defeating an enemy," she explained to her colleagues. "It's about changing their understanding of conflict." The quantum-encrypted transmission carried multiple layers of meaning, mathematical sequences that demonstrated computational superiority, communication protocols that showed the aliens how comprehensively they had been analyzed, subtle linguistic constructions that would take their best experts years to fully decode. On the research station, Marcus Chen watched the transmission with a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic calculation. Humanity was not just defending itself. It was making a statement about its nature. A species capable of overwhelming force, yet choosing measured response. Captain Krelax found himself experiencing an emotion utterly foreign to Xylaxian culture, genuine uncertainty. The humans had not only defeated his fleet, they had done so with a level of strategic complexity that challenged everything his civilization understood about warfare. The remaining Xylaxian vessels began to power down their weapon systems, not out of total defeat, but out of a newfound respect. They were being offered a chance to retreat, a mercy that spoke volumes about the species they had underestimated. "Transmission complete," the computer announced. Colonel Rodriguez allowed herself a slight smile. This was more than a military engagement. This was a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity would defend itself with unprecedented capability, but it would do so with a complexity that went beyond simple destruction. The solar system remained on high alert. The defensive networks continued to pulse with potential energy. But something fundamental had changed. The aliens were no longer seeing humans as a target. They were seeing them as a species to be understood. Mercy, in this moment, was the most powerful weapon of all. The quantum communication networks of the galaxy hummed with a single overwhelming message: humanity had arrived. News of the battle spread faster than light, carried by communication relays that stretched across multiple star systems. What had begun as a simple invasion attempt had transformed into a defining moment for human civilization. Species that had watched from the sidelines now understood something fundamental about the newcomers to the galactic stage. Colonel Elena Rodriguez stood in the primary communication center, watching as the first interstellar reactions began to filter in. Her team worked with methodical precision, analyzing each incoming transmission, each subtle diplomatic ripple. Incoming communication. The quantum network computer announced. Multiple alien civilizations requesting diplomatic contact. Marcus Chen studied the initial reports with scientific fascination. The battle had been more than a military engagement. It was a statement of human potential, a demonstration of a species that could transform limitation into strength with unprecedented speed and creativity. The Xylaxian defeat was not just a military loss. It was a complete paradigm shift in understanding interstellar conflict. Dr. Rebecca Nguyen, the linguistic expert who had crafted the initial communication, understood the deeper implications. We didn't just defend ourselves, she explained to her colleagues. We fundamentally changed how other species will perceive humanity. Diplomatic channels began to light up across multiple communication networks. The major galactic civilizations, species that had watched countless others rise and fall, now looked at humanity with a mixture of respect, caution, and genuine curiosity. Intelligence reports suggested that at least 7 different alien civilizations had been observing the conflict. Their analysis was unanimous. Humans were not just another species to be categorized or conquered. They were something entirely new. The solar system itself had transformed during the conflict. What had appeared to be isolated colonies were revealed as a sophisticated, adaptive network. Research stations, mining platforms, communication relays, each had demonstrated an ability to reconfigure, to adapt, to survive. Diplomatic contact requests increasing, the computer reported. Probability of positive engagement, 78.3%. Captain Krelax, the defeated Xylaxian commander, found himself in an unprecedented position. His report to the Xylaxian High Command would fundamentally reshape their understanding of potential threats. The humans had not just defeated a superior force, they had done so with a level of strategic complexity that defied traditional military understanding. The mercy shown during the final moments of the conflict was perhaps the most powerful message. Humanity had demonstrated an ability to utterly destroy the invasion force. Instead, they had offered a chance for retreat, for understanding. "We are not conquerors," Colonel Rodriguez had said in the final transmission. "We are defenders. Remember this moment." Those words would echo through multiple alien civilizations for generations. Scientific institutions across the galaxy began requesting communication access. The technological innovations demonstrated during the conflict suggested capabilities far beyond what had been previously understood. Adaptive networks, quantum communication protocols, resource transformation technologies. Marcus Chen realized they had done more than defend a territory. They had announced humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. The solar system's defensive network remained vigilant. The modifications made during the conflict would become standard infrastructure. Every research station, every mining platform, every communication relay now carried the potential for rapid reconfiguration. Diplomatic envoys from multiple alien civilizations began preparing their first contact protocols. The reports from the battle suggested that traditional approaches would be useless. Humanity required an entirely new form of diplomatic engagement. "We are not just another species," Dr. Nguyen explained in a detailed analysis. "We are a networked, adaptive civilization that sees every challenge as an opportunity for growth." The galactic communication networks continued to pulse with analysis, with speculation, with a growing understanding of the new players in the interstellar community. Humanity had not just survived an invasion. They had transformed the very understanding of what a young species could achieve. And this was just the beginning.